Welcome to the show. A little hard open today. A little hot open, if you will. Welcome in, and that's what opening week in the NFL calls for. That's what the season opener calls for with your Philadelphia Eagles getting started against the Dallas Cowboys tonight in South Philadelphia. You know, I think there's going to be maybe not a need for a hero. Maybe there'll be multiple heroes tonight playing for the Philadelphia Eagles as they down the Cowboys. Get to my official prediction coming up in a little bit. I'll also give you my 5 things to watch. But right out of the gate for the people going down there, hat tip to the people at FanDuel. How about this? And now the sponsor, have to acknowledge it, have to acknowledge whoever it is that swooped in, pun intended, and saved the day. Because remember, the Eagles were saying, hey, if you don't have a ticket to the opener, don't go. SEPTA's not going to be running as many trains, the express, and all this. Not going to happen. But how about this? SEPTA announced, getting this off of 6abc.com, SEPTA announced Wednesday that the transit agency has found a partner to help fully restore the Broad Street line services for the Philadelphia Eagles home opener. FanDuel stepped in to provide resources to ensure fans can get to and from Lincoln Financial Field on Thursday. First hero of the season, FanDuel. Way to be, FanDuel. As far as the game, the walk up to this is incredible. The people that watched the Eagles special last night, I didn't get a chance to catch it. From everything I saw that was posted, it just looked absolutely unreal. I had Phillies coverage last night, unfortunately, so I couldn't go back and forth on it. But, man, to relive those moments, to get the insight, I saw the stuff there about Jalen Hurts and his relationship with Nick Sirianni and how they pushed through, and the bye week. They had long conversations last week, bye week in week 5. Eagles are sitting at 2-2, coming off a dreadful loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a loss that I had just heard Vic Fangio. We had just heard Vic Fangio earlier in the week talk about that loss, saying that, yeah, everyone got their tails kicked. Everyone got their tails kicked in that game. Defense, offense. You needed some reflection going through the bye week. And Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, as well as Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, the offensive line as a whole, championing the cause for Saquon Barkley. Like, hey, you know we have Saquon Barkley back there. We should probably do that. Getting Cooper DeJean to start playing the nickel position for you, that also helped. What a ride. It goes without saying what a ride last year was. And there's a couple of things that I look at going into this season. And the main thing, honestly, is we know how great Saquon Barkley can be behind this offensive line, but what are the questions with Jalen Hurts? It seems like it's a tradition. We've never experienced what we're experiencing in this upcoming NFL season, leading up to certainly this NFL season. We have never had a franchise quarterback come off a Super Bowl win and try to lead the team right back to that spot. Nick Foles obviously won the Super Bowl, but he wasn't a franchise quarterback. Yeah, he absolutely started the following season as well, but wasn't the franchise guy. I have said this throughout the entire offseason. The guy we've been waiting for to lead this football team is here right now. And I know Jalen Hurts is not perfect, but he's the closest thing to perfect this team has ever had. And I am not going to go through another season asking the question or even entertaining the question as to whether or not Jalen Hurts, is Jalen Hurts the guy? People are still asking that question after he went to his first Super Bowl, after he won his first NFC Championship game, before Saquon Barkley was ever running a football for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's the guy. And the one question that he really, truly had going into last season is, can he do it, especially in a year where you had a guy like Saquon Barkley running the football for you? Could he really do it? If they shut down Saquon after the Panthers game we talked so much about, sticking your chest out there with 290 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, is that really a brag? Is that brag in the modern NFL? Can he do it again? Can he do it when they take away Saquon Barkley? Well, he went up against a phenomenal defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo. He went up against a dynasty that absolutely took Saquon Barkley out of the game. And to the credit of Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni, they kept giving the ball to Saquon Barkley despite about 2 yards per carry to continue to set up the pass. And Jalen Hurts took full advantage of it. And one of my favorite things I heard from Jalen Hurts at the start of this season, when mini camp was rolling around, when OTAs were going on and all that, one of my favorite things was Jalen Hurts when he was asked about answering that question as to whether or not he could be the guy to win you a football game. He said, I guess teams are just going to have to pick their poison. I guess teams are just going to have to pick their poison when it comes to Saquon Barkley, when it comes to me, basically. When it comes to their passing game is really what he said. He didn't say to me. But that question to me has been answered. And it's pretty easy to answer that question time and time and time again when all you have to do to flex is this. For the people on the podcast, that was just Jalen Hurts holding the Lombardi Trophy and Super Bowl MVP trophy again. Not again that he's done it twice, but again that I just won't stop playing it because, well, I think Nick Sirianni knows.
Well, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I would agree, Nick. I would agree. So that brings us to today. What do you need to see from the Eagles today? Because there's a couple of things that I'm absolutely looking at, 5 in particular. And the number one thing I'm going to be looking at here, no particular order, is Kevin Patullo going up against Matt Eberflus today. I was highlighting for you guys yesterday after Kevin Patullo had spoken earlier in the week about his relationship and his knowledge of Matt Eberflus. Look, I by far think this is an advantage to Kevin Patullo. This is an advantage to Kevin Patullo. Eberflus, experience, defensive coordinator, head coach, plenty of experience in Dallas, certainly. Was working with the linebackers in Dallas for 7 years before going to Indianapolis and then later becoming the head coach of the Chicago Bears and then now back to the Dallas Cowboys as the full-blown defensive coordinator. But Matt Eberflus doesn't know what Kevin Patullo is thinking. He might know what Frank Reich was thinking in the 3 years they were together in Indianapolis, where Eberflus was the defensive coordinator, and Kevin Patullo was the wide receiver coach for 2 of those years. He was the passing game coordinator, was a lesser role, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he was working passing game specialist. That was it. Thank you. Passing game specialist was Kevin Patullo's title in the final year he was working with Matt Eberflus when they were both with the Indianapolis Colts under Frank Reich, and Nick Sirianni was the offensive coordinator. So, yeah, there'll be tendencies that Eberflus certainly is aware of, but you know Eberflus a hell of a lot more than he knows you. There's a lot more tape out there on Eberflus decisions than there is on Kevin Patullo decisions. So advantage Patullo in this. Please use this to your advantage, Kevin Patullo. But this is one of the number one things I'm going to be looking at is just a little chess match that might be going on here behind the scenes. And I look at the weapons that you still have at your disposal if you're Kevin Patullo and you have this complete offense that you have been with going in now 5 years. You have the greatest weapon maybe ever in the NFL, the most dominant weapon ever in the NFL, with Saquon Barkley behind this offensive line. Yeah, that's a pretty nice thing to have in your back pocket there if you're a rookie play-calling offensive coordinator. Good luck. Oh, and you just lost your defensive MVP in Micah Parsons, of course. Patullo played it smart earlier in the week when he was asked about what Saquon Barkley is, when he was asked about how he adds his own wrinkles, his own fingerprints on this offense. Close to the vest, just being creative, just doing his thing, just making sure that everybody is doing exactly what they should be doing, and nobody is, stepping out of what the organization has asked them to do on any given play. And you go up against an opponent that you certainly know, all you have to do is execute. Kevin Patullo, with the play calls and the pace we saw during the preseason, just keep that going for yourself, man. and the offense go out there and do what we all know they can do, what we all know that they're capable of. And when another thing Petula talked about this week, obviously, it was Micah Parsons shifting things around a little bit. Does it really affect? No, because of tendencies. And those tendencies are tendencies directed by Kevin Petullo. Or excuse me, by Matt Eberflus, by Kevin Petullo. So I have to stay the course and understand it shouldn't be as hard as it was. Now, you look at other instances here, players even losing star players due to injury, whatever. This isn't that. This isn't, guys looking at themselves rallying. Okay, well, he's not here, but we're going to do it for him. No, you're not doing it for him anymore. He's gone. This is a much different case. So, number one thing I'm going to be looking at is Kevin Petullo versus Matt Eberflus. After that, Jalen Hurts, just continue to be as cautious with the football, as smart with the football as possible. Look, Deron Bland, obviously not, getting things underway last year. Just played in 7 games, unfortunately. Didn't have any picks last year. Trayvon Diggs is another guy that has had a bevy of picks in his career. He's a couple of years removed from that now. These guys still can get after it. So always be aware of where they are on the football field. This is easy stuff. This is dummy stuff. Jalen Hurts was incredible with the football last year. Coming out after the bye week, you're talking about, 24 turnovers in 24 games? That is terrible. And then after the bye week, you see him settle in beautifully. And I go back to things that you've heard him say already this year, and things he was saying in the middle of last year's 10-game winning streak. And it was all about just being smart with the football. That's it. And it was all about being selfless. And if he's got to take a sack, if there's not an opportunity to throw the football away or scramble, he even showed in the Rams playoff game that he's willing to take a safety as opposed to risk giving the team a touchdown with him right in the middle of the end zone there. Smart with the football. Nothing has to be forced. You can live to fight another down. And especially when you have a pretty nice safety blanket that is Saquon Barkley behind this offensive line, you can absolutely wait to live another down. That's a nice thing to have for any quarterback, obviously. So I look at Jalen Hurts just continuing to protect the football. And the thing that kept on being said this week, and I loved hearing it, and it was Jalen Hurts talking about it. We'll go back to that phrase again when he talks about contribution over credit. I think that's the way everybody on this football team has to think. And yesterday we talked about Nick Sirianni throwing that out there. We talked about A.J. Brown just being worried about the team, what the team needs to do to win and all that. That's the mindset this entire team has to have, especially on the offensive side of the football, where you're dictating where the ball is going as opposed to reacting to it on the defensive side of things. So A.J. Brown, if the play originally was called for you, and Jalen Hurts is looking at the defense going, yeah, that's not the right one. This is the right one. He checks to the run with Saquon Barkley and he rattles off a 70-yard touchdown run. Hey, got to be happy with it. Maybe you threw a good block on it, A.J. Brown. Maybe you threw a good block on it, Devontae Smith. Not that I want Devontae Smith blocking on that much. But, maybe somebody else stepped in there to make a big play to spring the bigger play. Contribution over credit. The guys in the building. Now, we have access to the all-22, but the guys in the building, those are the guys that are going to understand the play you made to make the big play happen. Contribution. That's your contribution. The credit isn't going to come when your face is all over all social media platforms saying, look what A.J. Brown did, look what Devontae Smith did, look what Dallas Goedert did, on this run. Now, it happens more than ever now because of social media, and you can highlight, hey, look at this block. Look at Lane Johnson get upfield. Look at Landon Dickerson get upfield. Look at A.J. Brown seal this off here. Whatever it might be. That credit can be given by the outside world, but not nearly as much as the guy running across the goal line. This team has to continue to not care about that. Last year, extremely selfless. Stay selfless. Jalen Hurts was a big part of that, and I think that is the number one reason why you had Nick Sirianni highlight him more so than anything when it came to being selfless football team, really reflecting the personality of their quarterback. So I look at Jalen Hurts really against the secondary in general. Deron Bland, obviously, I mentioned Trayvon Diggs, another guy you got to watch out for. Quinyon Mitchell versus CeeDee Lamb. Let's get traveling. Let's get traveling. If this is going to be the first true year of Quinyon Mitchell really following the opponent's best target, game on, man. Game on. This should make everything easier for when it comes to cornerback 3. This should make everything easier when it comes to Drew Makuba dropping back in coverage as your safety. Full participant in practice, by the way. This is the first big challenge of Quinyon Mitchell going out there and attempting to shut down not only a team's number one target, but a number one wide receiver type in the NFL, as CD Lamb is. Rise to that occasion. The whole country is going to be watching. The world will be watching the Thursday night kickoff as the Eagles unfurl their banner at Lincoln Financial Field. And shortly after that, the assignment will come for Quinyon Mitchell to shut down CD Lamb. Keep it tight. Keep it tight. We've seen guys in South Philly, even before Quinyon Mitchell, really shut it down, like Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. We've seen it happen before with lesser men, you might add. Let's see it again. Let's see it again with Quinyon Mitchell. And one of the biggest things that I do love about this, for whatever you felt about Darius Slay, what an absolute stud of a career he had in Philadelphia. Quinyon Mitchell is the man he's passing that baton to. Let's not forget about that. So I look at Quinyon Mitchell, I look at CD Lamb, and then the trickle-down effect from that. George Pickens and Cooper DeJean, if you see that matchup in base coverage in particular. Also looking at Jacorian Bennett or Adoree Jackson. Now, I went back and I looked at Dak Prescott has had phenomenal years against the Eagles secondary, against the Giants secondary. None of them really had anything to do with Adoree Jackson. Really not a big part of the puzzle while Dak Prescott was picking apart those Giants Adoree Jackson secondaries. But certainly CD Lamb, Quinyon Mitchell going to be looking at that tonight. And then the aforementioned Dak Prescott. Throughout the entire offseason, we've talked about who's playing corner. And it does feel good to be able to fall back on the idea of Cooper DeJean being back there and Quinyon Mitchell being back there. And then whoever else is going to step up there next after that. If it's going to be Bennett, if it's going to be Adoree Jackson, if it's going to be Mac McWilliams, if it's going to be Keely Ringo, whoever it is, it's going to be a test. And it's not just at the corner position. It's Drew Makuba back there as well. You're talking about Dak Prescott, a 3-time Pro Bowler, going up against this secondary. Now, there are other factors that certainly help this along, make you feel confident as an Eagles fan. Jalen Carter being one of them. That's pretty good. He's going to be up against a rookie some of tonight. That'll be fun. A lot of tonight, actually. Most of tonight. He's going to be up against a rookie a lot of tonight. But Dak Prescott going against the safety position that's being played by a rookie in Makuba, and he's going against whoever your third cornerback is going to be. Yes, Dak Prescott is a Dallas Cowboy, so technically, scientifically means he sucks. But at the same time, it's also understanding what your opponent can do, and he could be a pretty damn good quarterback. The last the Eagles faced Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts, the last time they really squared off, so everyone's got to be at the top of their game. Dak Prescott led the Cowboys to a 33-13 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. So make no mistake about it, he can certainly sling it. That was back on December 10th, 2023, by the way. So it's been a minute. Dak has certainly had his fair share of fun in that game. Certainly had his fair share of fun in that game. Don't let that get going. When you talk about him taking on whoever your corner is going to be that's not named Quinyon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean, you then talk about the safety position. Now, Drew Makuba, it's an interesting thing, I think. And I got into this yesterday with Jason Martinez on Locked On Eagles Squad show. Jason and I were talking about the concerns going into the season. And anytime you have a team like this that is damn near perfect, you think about injuries. And you go, well, if injuries are the only thing that you feel are standing in your way, then that means you got a pretty damn good football team. And it certainly feels like that in a lot of ways with this Eagles team, that injuries is the biggest concern. But then you can look at a guy like Drew Makuba, who had trouble staying healthy in college, has had trouble staying healthy already in the first couple of months of his NFL career. He's got one, I'll say, great game he had in the preseason. Two turnovers 2 takeaways, a touchdown on the pick 6, scoops up a fumble right where he was supposed to be, nose for the football, all that stuff. Yeah, he was great in that, one preseason game. So the question with him isn't just necessarily whether or not he can stay healthy. I mean, obviously that's a concern. The track record's there. But is he good enough? Like, if he played a game, if a quarterback like Tanner McKee, for instance, even though we've seen him play at the NFL level before, he played in the preseason this year and lit it up. But even with a guy like Makuba, if he was a quarterback and he had like that same level of play throughout a game, and it was his only one, oh, this guy be incredible. He's amazing. Put him in the Hall of Fame already. That whole thing. But we should know better. We should know better. That's going to be a little bit different going against Dak Prescott, for instance. A little bit different. So let's see that you could play at this level. Let's see that you could stay healthy at this level. And then the other thing is when you talk about corner and you talk about safety, you do rely on the idea that you have Jalen Carter on this defensive line, speeding up the clock. So even if Dak Prescott is starting to get into a rhythm against CB3 and the SSSF 1 or 2, whatever you want to call him, Makuba, safety's interchangeable now. Everyone always says that. Even if you're talking about him getting in a rhythm, you can still be talking about Nolan Smith coming off the edge, Jalen Carter helping that happen, Jordan Davis being out there every down now, being that next level defensive tackle / nose tackle that we've all heard about throughout training camp and through the preseason. There's other things that make you feel damn good about it. Drew Makuba having a guy like Reed Blankenship next to him, which, by the way, one of the most not talked about stories of this training camp session has been how many people look to Reed Blankenship as a leader. And it really even started before training camp. If you remember, when Darius Slay was, before he went to sign on with the Steelers, he was naming leaders of the defense. One of the first guys he mentioned, if not the first man he mentioned, was Reed Blankenship, and that's where Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got all bent out of shape. What, I'm not a leader? Gone. He was pretty much gone. Maybe Darius Slay knew that they were going to move on from him, but you talk about Dak Prescott going against this secondary. There are certainly saving graces along the lines of this. And here's what I'm going to be looking for. So far, Patullo versus Eberflus. Hurts just doing what he did last year in protecting the football. Quentin Mitchell versus CeeDee Lamb following around. Dak Prescott versus the secondary. And then this last thing. Let's not make any mistake about this. Would I like to see the passing game take on a bigger role on this offense? Absolutely. Would I like to see the team rely on Jalen Hurts a little bit more with throwing the football? Absolutely. Whether that's dink and dunks to A.J. Dillon, whether that's dink and dunks to Will Shipley, whether that's the classic third down and long rub route to Dallas Goedert. Yeah, I'd like that. But make no mistake about it. The Philadelphia Eagles are a run-first team. Let's just acknowledge that right now. I've said all offseason, if I have one ask of Kevin Patullo, it's, can it get a middle-of-the-road passing attack? Like, I don't need Jalen Hurts to lead the league in completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns. That'd be cool, but, I don't need it, especially when you have something that works so damn well in Saquon Barkley behind this offensive line. But just get in the middle of the road, not last in attempts. Saquon Barkley coming off 482 touches. Still, that's a lot. That's a lot of touches. I'd like to rely on Jalen Hurts' arm a little bit more. I'd like to rely on Saquon Barkley a little bit less. Eagles, all goes right, are going to be back playing for a Super Bowl this season. I'd like Saquon to be as fresh as humanly possible for that. But again, make no mistake about it. When stuff hits the fan, I don't want Saquon Barkley all of a sudden having like 35 carries in a game. That's not going to happen. But I want the passing game to pull their own weight, while this still stays a run-first team. Keeps the mentality they had after the bye week last year, I should say. Other than that, I am beyond thrilled to watch this game tonight. I'll be back with Seth Joyner and Derek Gunn for this football season, pre and post on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel. So I look forward to that. Also, the rookie I mentioned, Tyler Booker's their right guard, first-round pick. Jalen Carter, might be seeing a little bit of him tonight, certainly. So I look forward to that. Sam Williams, Dante Fowler on the edges now, especially without Micah Parsons. Fowler, Washington, Dallas, now Dallas again. Guy had 10.5 sacks last season, playing for the Commanders. So there's a lot going on there when it comes to this defense and Matt Eberflus, who he will be rolling out there. Izaraku is another guy to be watching on that Dallas defense as well. Another guy to keep an eye on. So I look forward to it all. Kicking off tonight in South Philadelphia. What are your predictions? Hit me up in the comments. What do you think the final is going to be? I'll tell you right out of the gate. Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game tonight. They're going to win this game comfortably tonight. I know everyone always talks about the offense is not as far along as the defense. This offense knows each other. Even with Kevin Patullo being a first-year offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo being a first-year play caller, he knows this offense. This offense knows him. He knows that this offense does extremely well, other than just run the football with Saquon Barkley. I got this being like a 28-17 type of Eagles win, a 27-17 Eagles win with a slop touchdown late in the game by the Dallas Cowboys. But I got the Eagles winning this football game, and I got the Eagles starting off the season 1-0. As far as banner night, I told you guys all about this yesterday. I don't want the Eagles out there on the football field for it. That's for the fans to embrace, to enjoy. They weren't out there last time they did this, and it feels so good to say that they even had a last time doing this, and it was recent. Yes, it feels good. I don't need the team out there. Team's all about moving forward. Team's all about not using or not relying on last year and you guys got to repeat or you guys got to defend your Super Bowl title. No, move on from it. I thought it was smart that Doug Peterson didn't have him out there on the football field for it last year. I think it's smart that Nick Sirianni's not going to have him out there on the football field for it this year. So by all means, start anew. And listening to teams over the years talk about coming off a Super Bowl victory, I have honestly never heard a football team talk about winning a Super Bowl championship with almost the disdain that the Philadelphia Eagles had for last year. It went far beyond the last year is last year, this year is this year. It went into a whole new. Man, it really sucked that we had to win last year. Now everyone's thinking we're going to win it again. But, if we just forget that we won last year, we'll be fine. And truth be told, I think today, if you went up to Jalen Hurts, be like, hey, did you guys win the Super Bowl last year? Don't remember. Maybe that's slightly sarcastic. So I got the Eagles winning this one tonight, 27-17. That is my official prediction for tonight's football game. What do you guys have when it comes to Eagles, Cowboys tonight? Your Philadelphia Phillies. Yeah, sorry. I'm not going to run through the entire thing here, but I will say this. Your Philadelphia Phillies. They lost 6-3 last night. Aaron Nola allowed 5 runs in the first inning. He allowed 5 runs over 21 pitches. 21 pitches. He allowed 5 runs. Did not record an out. And then, after he allowed the 5th run to cross the plate, he threw 11 pitches and got 3 outs. He was good for a couple innings, allowed another run. I don't really care about that. One of my favorite phrases in all of baseball used to be helping his own cause, related to a pitcher helping his own cause when pitchers would bat. After that, it's, settled in nicely. If you're consistently allowing runs early in a ball game, whether it's 6 runs, for instance, against the Washington Nationals, whether it's 3 against the Atlanta Braves, or it's 5 against the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're ballooning your ERA to 8.38 since you've come off the IL, that's cause for concern. Last night, I didn't see the fastball either at like 94 miles per hour, so the velocity that gave you a little bit of a tease, that wasn't there. He was terrible yesterday. Absolutely terrible. And if you have 4 good innings, that doesn't erase 5 runs scored in the first inning, immediately putting your team in a pretty terrible deficit. I don't know what they do with him at this point. I have zero confidence that he's all of a sudden going to snap out of it. He looks like a guy that is absolutely lost. He certainly looks like a guy that won't be starting on your playoff roster. That's for damn sure. I don't think they leave him off the roster. I don't think that he starts. Do I think he go into the bullpen? I don't even know if you can trust him for that. But I'd have a hard time buying a guy on a 7-year contract is going to be left off your postseason roster. Hey, if you could somehow get the idea of, hey, man, we just want to make sure you're healthy, and we don't think you're healthy, so you should be healthy. We want you to be healthy, but you're not healthy. So we got to shut you down. If you could get that across, then all right, let's go. But if he's still healthy, I don't see them leaving him off the postseason roster, unfortunately. And I don't trust him. Really what it's going to come down to is how good Walker Buehler debuts as a Philly when he gets his opportunity in about 7 days. That's what it's going to come down to. So Aaron Nola was just absolutely terrible yesterday. The other thing is 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position against the Milwaukee Brewers in a game where Bryce Harper was 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position. That's Bryce Harper's supposed to be a game changer. This is a huge series against the Brewers. This could come back and haunt you in the playoffs. Not only do you have an opportunity to beat the Brewers, you have an opportunity to still win your season series. You have an opportunity, even up the season series, I should say. And he comes up minuscule. He looks silly. You have a left-handed pitcher throwing a slurve, and Jose Quintana, which I always have to remind myself that pitch still exists. And Bryce Harper has just completely baffled at the plate. I don't get it. So the 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position, Bryce Harper having 3 opportunities to really make a difference in the ball game, and 0 for 3. That's inexcusable. And then this last one isn't as big a deal, but it definitely left me scratching my head because you have a lefty on the mound. Nick Castellanos is in the lineup. He gets a couple hits, scores a run, maybe 2 runs last night. I think he scored 2 runs last night. Whatever it was. Gets a couple of hits. You have him at the plate with a 3-2 count. Harrison Bader's on first base. In the 8th inning, you're down 3. You have 2 disengagements already on the pitcher. Why wouldn't you send Harrison Bader with 1 out, full count, 2 disengagements? This came up earlier in the year, and it came up with Kyle Schwarber at the plate and Bryson Stott on first, and Kyle Schwarber lined out to right field. You remember this play? I forget who it was against, but it was early. It was like in April. And Kyle Schwarber lined out to right field. Stott was going on the pitch. For whatever reason, when the ball was hit, he didn't stop and survey where the ball was going. So he gets doubled off. And I hated that they sent Bryson Stott. And I hated it for the sheer reason that Kyle Schwarber doesn't ground in the double plays. He doesn't hit in the double plays. It's not something that happens often at all. That's not my concern. It also bothered me because Bryson Stott didn't read the play well at all. He read it terribly. Matter of fact, he didn't read it. He didn't realize until he was practically at second base what was going on. The reason it made so much sense for Harrison Bader to take off was full count, 1 out, 2 disengagements. He's on second base. And then if you apply the philosophy, it absolutely would have worked out to a positive result because he hit a grounder to third. He would have had to throw across the diamond to get Nick Castellanos, still allowing a runner to be in scoring position in a 3-run ball game. Now, was it why they won or lost? No. Was it a play that just annoyed me? Yes. And Edmundo Sosa is coming up. It's not like he's never had a big hit. Then you're flipping the lineup over to Trey Turner. Yeah, I'll do that. Who, by the way, 48th or something, multi-hit game of the season? That man's incredible. So Phillies, they're back at it today. for game 3 of this 3-game series in Milwaukee, and hopefully they win it. That's 4:05 start time today, 4:10, something like that, 4 o'clock hour. So that's what's going on today. Before I get into the chat check, again, give me your predictions on tonight's game. Let me know what you guys got. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's phlsportsnation.com. And how about Brett's amazing inventory? Check out skymotorcars.com. That's skymotorcars.com. Also, worth noting, the Mets lost yesterday. So Phillies 5.5 games up on the Mets in the division. So that's where you're at right now. Let's get into the chat. Check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. Pin 9617. Good morning. QB, what's up, QB? Good morning, Sunshine. Good morning to you. Right. Good morning, Farzy and friends. This early start must be a pre-record. Nope, we live, baby. We live. Although I will wrap in a minute. By the way, F. Dallas and long live Jerry Jones, 30 years of irrelevance. How amazing is that? I did tell you when I watched all 8 episodes of that Cowboys doc on Netflix, I was just so happy to know that after you watch their 3 Super Bowl victories in the 90s there, I'm like, and then they were irrelevant. All this just went away. I do, again, highly recommend watching it. It's very well done. You just have to get over the idea that it's anything about the Dallas Cowboys. Just throw up a couple times where you're watching Jerry Jones and move on. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Good morning. Nola being Nola, hell yeah. April, hello, April. Let's go. It's time for football. Hell yeah. This is I'm really trying to let this settle in. And I've had all offseason to try to let this settle in. I can't let it settle in. The Philadelphia Eagles, for the first time ever, have their franchise Super Bowl winning quarterback starting out the following season, looking to run it back. It's never happened. It's happening tonight. If the Eagles just control this football from start to finish, if they control this game from start to finish, oh man, we are going to be, if you live in a different area and you're an Eagles fan, oh man, you're going to be insufferable at the office. Jay Stay, good morning. Good morning. Birds win by 3 touchdowns. There you go, April. I love it. Jay Stay, yeah, wasn't ready for the early start. Going to have to start waking up earlier myself. Laugh out loud, says Jason A. Well, you'll get more of me on Fox 29 coming up a little bit later today, as I'm sure some of you regulars assumed. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch me pregame and postgame on the Seth Jonas Show YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be back with you guys tomorrow morning to break it all down for the Eagles starting off the season 1-0. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Until